Imagine you're watching a 10-year-old boy trying to solve a puzzle that is entirely too difficult for him. He grunts, he sweats, he struggles. But instead of giving up, he pulls his chair closer, smacks his lips, and yells, "I love a challenge." That reaction breaks the rules of how we usually think about failure. For most of us, failing means you didn't measure up. But for a specific group of people, a failure is actually a gift. It is the exact mechanism they use to get smarter. To see how this divide plays out, researchers presented young adults with a hypothetical bad day. You get a C+ on a midterm you studied hard for. On the way home, you find a parking ticket on your car. You call your best friend to vent, and they brush you off. When presented with this exact scenario, people with what we call a fixed mindset spiraled. Their internal dialogue turned to things like, "I'm a total failure," "I'm a loser," or "the world is out to get me." A bad grade and a minor ticket translated into a direct judgment on their worth. The other group read the exact same story, but they didn't feel judged. They'd study differently, pay the parking ticket, and check on their friend. These researchers discovered that people occupy two distinct psychological worlds, where the exact same events carry entirely different meanings. In the first world, the fixed mindset, you believe your qualities are carved in stone at birth. You are dealt a specific amount of intelligence and a specific personality, and that is what you have for life. If abilities are static, every situation tests your intelligence. Failing proves you're flawed, and effort means you lack ability. But in the growth mindset, your initial hand is just a starting point. Basic qualities are cultivated. Hard work is the engine to get smarter. Your underlying mindset acts as a quiet filter on your life. It dictates whether your daily energy is spent anxiously defending a static identity or actively building a better one. This split happens incredibly early. When researchers offered 4-year-olds a choice between redoing an easy jigsaw puzzle or trying a harder one, the divide was obvious. Fixed mindset kids stuck with the safe, easy puzzle, stating that smart kids don't do mistakes. Even at 4 years old, they rejected the opportunity to learn something new to guarantee a success. Avoiding failure ensured they stayed smart. The kids with a growth mindset thought redoing an easy puzzle was bizarre. They chose the difficult puzzles because they wanted the chance to figure them out. Fast forward to college, and the stakes escalate. At the University of Hong Kong, all classes and exams are entirely in English. Researchers found incoming freshmen who were weak in English and asked if they would take an essential remedial course. Students oriented toward learning, the growth mindset, said an emphatic yes. The fixed mindset students were not very interested. To feel smart in the short term, these students were willing to put their college careers at risk. They hid a temporary deficiency instead of fixing it. When the cost of learning requires admitting you don't know something yet, the fixed mindset makes the price feel too high to pay. We can actually see this happening on a biological level. At a brainwave lab at Columbia University, scientists hooked subjects up to monitors to measure the electrical activity in their brains as they answered difficult questions. Fixed mindset brains lit up only when told if they were right or wrong, but flatlined when presented with the actual correct answer. Conversely, growth mindset brains remained highly attentive, actively lighting up to receive information that could expand their knowledge. This drive to learn manifests as a measurable, physical difference in how the brain prioritizes its attention. We tend to look at historical icons and assume they were born with prepackaged genius. But look at Charles Darwin and Leo Tolstoy. As children, both were considered entirely ordinary. Their eventual brilliance was cultivated over years of passion and toil. Even the IQ test, the gold standard for measuring raw intellect, was never intended to measure an unchangeable trait. The man who invented it, Alfred Binet, designed the test specifically to identify children who were struggling in Paris public schools so they could receive new educational programs. Binet argued fiercely that with practice and training, an individual's intelligence could be significantly increased. If you live in a fixed mindset, you are playing a desperate game of poker, trying to convince the world you hold a royal flush when you're terrified you only have a pair of tens. The growth mindset realizes the hand you're dealt is simply a starting point. Ultimately, mindsets are just beliefs. They exist entirely within your own head, which means you can change your mind at any moment. The next time you face a difficult problem, you have a choice. Will you focus on being judged for where you are right now, or will you focus on improving to where you want to be?